Entering into week 10, we're getting into crunch time of the college football season. This is a time where teams are getting eliminated from their conference title appearances. They're from the college football playoff. There's a lot of upsets waiting to happen here. And I've identified a number of teams who are just sitting there, just lurking, waiting to spoil a lot of these team seasons. So we'll quickly rattle through who these guys have left on their schedule, but we'll start with Arkansas. Arkansas has been looking good recently. They've gone back and forth where they've looked really good, they've looked down, so it's like hard to get a totally good read on them, but they do have explosive players and explosive play capability. And they have Ole Miss and Texas at home, and then they have Mizzou. They have Ole Miss this weekend and Texas. Both Ole Miss and Texas are still right in the hunt for the SEC championship, and they both have losses, and they could be eliminated from the playoff contention. So Arkansas could be a big spoiler as they have Ole Miss, Texas, and Mizzou left on their schedule. Florida, they play Georgia this weekend. They have Texas. They go to Texas, and then they have LSU and Ole Miss at home. All of those games are games where Florida could potentially pull up an upset and cause some real chaos in the SEC championship picture as well as the college football picture. Then we got Virginia Tech. This one, Virginia Tech's been hitting their stride recently. They've been becoming more of a full-formed football team, looking good, and they host Clemson next week, night game. So that's a really important game for the ACC title race. Clemson has no ACC losses. They're currently atop of the ACC, but they do have one loss already on their schedule to Georgia. So a loss here would mean they would be a two-loss team, which could really put them out of the college football playoff contentions unless they win the ACC championship. So that's an important game for Virginia Tech. South Carolina, they play Texas A&M and Mizzou at home. And then we just brought up Clemson. They also have Clemson. So Clemson's in a really tough spot for the rest of their season. They got some teams on their schedule that could really spoil their season. But South Carolina is a 2.5-point dog to Texas A&M this weekend. And then they have Mizzou on their schedule. So Mizzou has a tough schedule remaining as well. And they haven't been looking all that great, so I do expect another loss on their schedule. Michigan, it's crazy having Michigan on here since they just won the national title, but they kind of have to be on here because they're a team that really isn't all that great, but does have the athletes to beat you. And they have Oregon this week at home, and then they also play Indiana and Ohio State. So three of the top teams, with the exception of Penn State, Michigan faces in the Big Ten. So they are a serious wild card in the Big Ten race coming up. Staying in the Big Ten, let's go to Minnesota. Minnesota is at Illinois this weekend, and then they have Penn State at home. An undefeated right now, Penn State at home, and going to Minnesota. Minnesota's been pretty good recently. They've been able to be fundamental in terms of their offense and have a very balanced run game and a balanced pass game. Brosmer has picked it up, and Darius Taylor is a big threat in the run game. So look for Minnesota to cause some chaos as well. Auburn finally got an SEC win. They have A&M left and Bama left. I mean, look, both of those teams could be taking L's to Auburn and be ruining their playoff hopes. And then lastly, don't want to leave out the G5 here. Texas State is in a really, really unique position here. So they host Louisiana tonight, who is 3-1, are undefeated in the Sun Belt, and 6-1 in 6-1 total. So they have an opportunity to upset Louisiana tonight, and actually Texas State is a 4-point favorite. So they could cause some chaos in the Sun Belt and knock off Louisiana, and they also get ULM later, who is 3-1 in the Sun Belt, sitting close to the top of the conference in the Sun Belt. So Texas State has an opportunity to play spoiler as well. So over the course of November, I'm going to be looking out for these teams because of who they're playing and how these teams are playing recently to maybe be spoilers to some of these teams who have great odds. Follow Big Body Ball CFB on all socials.